Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. A happy new year to each and every one of you. I hope you all had a fantastic New Year's Eve and have started the year off in the right way. This is going to be the first Cardano video that we're going to release of 2022. I am very excited for the year ahead of us, and we're going to be getting into a number of things in this video. I'm going to be telling you why it is I'm continuing to buy Cardano at these price levels in preparation for what's to come. There is something colossal around the corner, guys. We know that we have the blossoming DeFi ecosystem starting to turn on. This is really going to accelerate the usage of the underlying blockchain, Cardano. We're going to be touching on cNFTs in this video. For the past 2 weeks, I have been aping, and that isn't a reference to Chilled Kong, into cNFTs because I actually see a huge value proposition in terms of being an investor in the early cNFT ecosystem that is yet to grow with Cardano as a blockchain. So we're going to get into that. This all drives the use for Cardano. I'm going to be showing you Google Trends. Now, I believe we're going to get a resurgence in Cardano and the interest in it. And I think that's going to show up on the Google Trends. These trends, where you've seen a high with people searching retail typically on Google for Cardano, has very much matched up with the price points. You can see here, this is May the 15th. This is, of course, May the 15th. You can see over here, this is the 22nd to the 28th of August. And you can see over here, guys, these are very accurately lined the top up. So Google Trends have a lot to do with the top. It's typically retail that we see buying at the top. As we know, institutions and smart money will typically dump at that point and use retail as exit liquidity. But you are going to see a resurgence in this, ladies and gentlemen. I am very confident of that. And I think that's going to have a lot to do with, and we've spoken in great length about some of the farming opportunities that you're going to have within the Cardano DeFi ecosystem. For example, we spoke about the fact that you could actually remain stake and receive a staking reward whilst maybe providing liquidity or lending your Cardano out or something on Cardano. We've gone over a few things. So we're very, very excited about the year to come. And this year has ended in rather an unspectacular way. In adversary to how the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory, you can see, this was the last 4 years. We were expecting a similar thing. It's not played out in that way, but we think we're on more of a long adoption game. And, you know, with crypto, still very early, $2.2 trillion. Yes, it's significant, but in terms of where it's going, I think blockchain is going to be used on a day-to-day basis. And in terms of that adoption curve, you're very early on it. So let's dive into the charts first before we get into a number of other things. We're also going to be going over some very interesting data. Leaders in total development activity in 2021. Cardano has been exceptionally busy, and we've seen a lot of on-chain growth. We've seen a lot more Plutus scripts being sort of minted or coming online over the past sort of couple of months. And this is all, like I say, really down to the Alonzo hard fork, which saw the integration with smart contracts, making them accessible on the Cardano blockchain. So Bitcoin, a little bit lackluster. There still is the possibility for more downside, sort of a similar pattern to what we see over here. But ultimately, you know, we think that this is going to break out the top. We think you're going to get a return move and do something similar to that. And Cardano is on the verge of some, I can feel it with ADA. You know, we've seen a brutal 3 months from the top over here, which ties in very, very accurately with the Google Trends, which is why I bring them up. They're a very important thing. As an investor, this is something I pay great attention to. And in actual fact, Google Trends, we saw more people typing in NFTs than we actually saw typing in crypto. So there's something revealing in there, which will lead into the whole cNFT side of things that I'm going to talk about in just a second. So we've seen a brutal couple of months, 3 months, 4 months, but ultimately, there are signs of potential bottoming here. You know, this is a falling wedge that you broke out of. You failed to put in a higher high, but you've also at the moment failed to put in a lower low. So providing that we can continue in a kind of staircase manner, this is largely going to be excelled, in my opinion. You know, we've got the first DEX, we've got Sunday Swap coming online any day now. They did sort of say that they were going to get things out before Christmas, or certainly before the end of the year. This is blockchain, guys. It's how it works. If anybody gives you a date, take that with a pinch of salt. Take that as a rough time period or a rough time frame when something may be releasing. And, you know, we don't want them to screw things up. As a first DEX that comes online, we want them to be a huge success. We want them to lock up and eat up lots of Cardano, and we want them to work really well. And when we do get Sunday Swap, we will be making a full comprehensive video on everything to do with it. So how to use the DEX, how to provide liquidity, how to farm it, and so on and so forth. So ultimately, Cardano's in a bit of a limbo zone. We'll see what happens. We're really very tethered to Bitcoin, which is tethered to other markets due to its sort of market cap that it's now in. But ultimately, just remember that crypto is very early in terms of adoption, and there's still a lot to come for not only Bitcoin as a real store of value against inflation. The previous sort of 2 years, certainly March 2020 onwards, have shown us that. And of course, something like Cardano, in terms of it actually being used, and we've spoken about this previously, why you've seen such amazing growth from things like Solana, Terra, Avalanche, Matic, which is a layer 2 to Polygon, is due to the fact that people have been using them for DeFi applications. They've been minting NFTs and so on and so forth. That brings me on to my next point, and we'll talk about the fact that Cardano is sort of leading the development activity, or led the development activity, I should say, last year. cNFTs, why does this make me bullish on Cardano? Well, first of all, they're minted on Cardano. They're a smart contract, essentially. Now, why I'm so bullish on cNFTs for ADA is because if you want to buy a cNFT, if you look at, and by the way, we've been buying at quite a lot of chill Kongs that have done very well. We are going to make a cNFT series. We may even give out a wallet address that people can send their cNFTs to, up-and-coming people that want to make cNFTs and become an up-and-coming project, so that we can actually feature them on the shows. We've got quite a decent-sized audience that's growing in relation to Cardano. But cNFTs, ultimately, you've got to buy ADA to interact with these cNFTs and to actually purchase them. And there's a huge value proposition, I believe, right now in buying cNFTs. Chill Kongs, literally 4 or 5 days ago, I think I was buying these for about 160 ADA. Some of them are even cheaper. Some of them are 120, 140. I think the floor on JPG Store is like 500 ADA at least now. And there's a lot. We've been getting into a number of other projects that we are going to reveal and make a much longer video on and show you what we're buying, what we like the look of, and so on and so forth. So cNFTs is hugely bullish. You've also got this DeFi ecosystem that's coming online. We have used Muesli Swap. It's all right. It's not really the team. There's a lot of questionable things about it. But if you want to get into things like World Mobile, or which I'm not recommending at the moment, I actually don't own World Mobile. But if you want to get into things like Liquid, for example, just went live on Muesli Swap. You can do it via that. But, I'm really waiting for Sunday Swap. I think Sunday Swap's going to be huge. I think we're going to see a lot of meme tokens be traded. I think there's going to be a huge amount of trading taking place. And in order for a DEX to work, you have to lock Cardano into the DEX as a trading pair, essentially, or you have to lock up trading pairs. So there's going to be a lot of ADA getting taken off the table. We're seeing an increased buy pressure from things like cNFTs. We're going to see an increased buy pressure from people wanting to trade in and out tokens on the DEX. I reckon we're going to start to see, as people start to talk about APYs, opportunities, so on and so forth, a real spike up in retail interest. And providing that Bitcoin's doing okay, doesn't need to do spectacularly, we can see Cardano do very well. This has been a long, hard, drawn out pullback. But ultimately, I do think we're on the tail end of it. And I am really expecting great things. I do think we will see new all-time highs in 2022. This year's going to be very interesting because history is literally being made as we go into it. I mean, we haven't followed the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory, and it does look like we are in accordance with the previous cycles, which have actually lengthening and certainly going into this year. And of course, we've got the law of diminishing returns as well that's at play. So whether we get to, I definitely think Bitcoin's going above and beyond 100K. It's inevitable at some point. But, we've really yet to see how this year shapes out. It's going to be a learning experience for myself and for many of you guys out there. One thing that I absolutely am, though, guys, is immensely bullish on Cardano. This is the leaders in total development activity in 2021. You can see Cardano, Kusama, Polkadot, Ethereum, whatever that is, Solana, Status, IOTA, Flow, Cosmos, Elrond, and so on and so forth. A lot of coins in the top 20 that didn't even make that list. We still live in a very hype-driven space, and that's something that's important to remember. Now, you can capitalize on that. But if you look at, we've compared crypto with the internet many, many times. And the reason that we do that is because there's a similar thing going on here. It's a technological revolution that's going to impact the world in a big way. Very early on that. But one thing that those internet stocks that were successful and that lasted were the ones that had real use and utility and became adopted. That's what we're betting on with ADA. That's what we're betting on with not just ADA, a number of other cryptocurrencies, is that they're going to be here to stay because there's solid fundamentals and extremely sturdy foundations that are going to be built upon, and ultimately, as they grow and build, attract more and more people. I don't know if you guys caught the Cardano 360 event, the sort of end of year special. It was really eye-opening with a vision. This is a vision far more greater than I think people actually realize and understand. So we're exceptionally excited about the future. This, I think, is where these metrics actually came from. So what a year for crypto. It's hard to believe Bitcoin breaking 27K was the big news of a year ago. From multiple all-time highs to Cardano, Kusama, and POLKADOT battling to be the most developed assets in 2021. We covered it all in our end of year report. This person's selling you something. I don't subscribe to it. It may be good, it may not. I just, you can get a lot of amazing free information out there. So I'm not bashing this or anything. I'm just saying this is, I think, where this is from. And there's a number of other reports to suggest that this is the case. Cardano is sort of leading the way. Certainly if you look at GitHub and stuff like that, they're doing an awful lot. And the price just simply hasn't reflected that. You've got a lot of other coins out there that have been very, very heavily VC invested, venture capitalist invested. And that's why they've done as well as they have, because they've got that backing. They've got that sort of media okay. Whereas something like Cardano is really a decentralized for the people project that's very much having to struggle its way through. It is still where it is today without DApp deployment. What do you think happens when that DApp deployment comes online? What do you think happens when people actually start to look into this? And remember, Google Trends is very, very accurately timed, both tops here. So this is something we will watch and keep you more up to date with. So this was really just for me to touch base. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and found it useful. I am accumulating before we start to see that retail interaction again, before we start to get the dApps online, because I think that's going to be a huge driver for the price. A happy new year to each and every one of you. This is going to be a fantastic year for the channel and hopefully for you guys. We are going to do a lot of different shows. We're going to do a cNFT sort of project, a show where we show you some of the cNFTs we bought and how much money we've made on them and sort of the projects that we're looking into. We're also going to do a Moonbag Monday where we're going to pick 5 altcoins. We're going to throw $1,000 into each of them, which I think is a reasonable amount of money. I, as a disclaimer, own a lot more of these coins, but we're going to do a public portfolio and say, look, this is our pick. You don't have to follow it. Maybe we're just pricking your ears and saying, this might be of some interest to you. And we're going to show you what these coins and how they perform over the years and see whether they do well or not, whether you can laugh with me or cry. So that's really all I have for you, ladies and gents. It's going to be an interesting year. Remember, we do have the stake pool. ALLIN is the ticker. We are still minting blocks despite a lot of people going over to some of the Sunday swap ISPOs, which is fair enough, guys. This channel was made essentially to help you guys make money, and I am absolutely on board with it, whichever way, shape or form you want to do that. That's really what this channel is all about. But if you guys are already with a stake pool that perhaps isn't giving out Sunday swap, you can come over and stake with us if you fancy it. Remember, there's a link to the Discord in the description. I am going to love and leave you on that note, guys. I hope you all had a fantastic start to this year, and we'll catch you in tomorrow's video. We've got lots of videos coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for them. Thanks a lot for watching, ladies and gents.